Inspire Fitness has been making home gym equipment since 2003. For nearly 2 decades, they have reigned supreme as one of the best options for a cable machine that packs a punch and does it all in a small space for the home gym. But the world of home gyms looks quite a bit different today than when the FT2 was first released. Now we have options that compare to this, from high quality commercial manufacturers all the way down to budget Amazon options. You can grab smart devices and all kinds of different things to replicate cable systems on your rack or elsewhere throughout your home gym. So the question we're going to answer today is the Inspire FT2 still a good option for today's home gym owner? What's up everyone, Joe Gray here today to talk about the Inspire FT2. We've had this in our garage for about 1.5 years now, testing it out, using it on a very regular basis for all kinds of fun stuff. And today we're going to share a full review, as well as at the end talk about ultimately, is this still a valid option for home gyms? That way you can decide if this is the right addition for your home gym or not. I do not have any kind of affiliation, any discount codes, links, anything like that for Inspire. However, I did buy this used, so I did not pay the full retail price, which we will discuss as we go forward, as I think that does factor into the ultimate decision around the FT2. As well as the FT2 itself, we're also going to talk about the SCS bench, as well as the leg developer as we go. Because I did buy this used, I will not talk about assembly, but I will talk about some of the hiccups and stuff with how complicated and crazy this piece is. So keep all of that in mind as we go, and let's dig in. If you're not familiar with the FT2, let me give you a quick background on it. It is at its heart a functional trainer. But what makes it different from a typical functional trainer is 3 main things. Number 1 is it not only has your typical functional trainer dual adjustable columns on each side, it also has dual low row cable attachments and dual pull down cable attachments. So this allows you to get past some of the wonkiness that typically exists with trying to use a functional trainer in a home gym as your one and only cable solution. You no longer have the range of motion limitations for pull downs, and you have a much more stable and typically more weight appropriate use for low rows. The SCS bench and the leg developer connect directly into the FT2, so you now have a plate stack, cable-driven leg extension and leg curl option in your home gym. This is a very unique offering that I have not seen from any other company to date. Third is the built-in Smith machine. You see this in some of the newer all-in-one units, but the FT2 was one of the first ones I remember seeing that had that piece built in, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. Some of you may remember I was a huge fan of my PowerTech lever gym. A key piece as to why I sold that and moved to the FT2 was this piece to the puzzle, the stacks. So running a machine off of stacks in a garage gym means quick adjustments, quick supersets, all kinds of good stuff. The cool thing with the FT2 is that the entire damn thing runs off of these stacks. Whether we're talking about the adjustable cable columns, the pull down cable attachments, the low row options, the leg developer piece, or the Smith machine, it's all stack driven, which means in theory, you don't have to ever load another plate again for all of your accessory work in the FT2. These come in at 160-pound stacks on each side with an optional 50-pound stack increase if you want to while purchasing it. Now, 160 pounds is unfortunately not actually 160 pounds because it is what is called a 2-to-1 ratio, which means that you're actually going to feel about 80 pounds of that 160 pounds. So each 10-pound plate is really kind of more like a 5-pound plate. Now, 80 pounds per stack is probably enough for most people for most exercise done on the cable column. We're talking about lateral raises, triceps extensions, curls, that kind of stuff. 80 pounds should be enough. Where we run into issues is things like the leg developer, low rows, and pull downs. We do have a couple of workarounds though. For pull downs, the two pulleys do swivel ever so slightly, which allows you to connect them together and connect one cable attachment for pull downs. So if you wanted to do up to 160 pounds on a pull down, you could make that happen here. If, of course, you have the 50-pound stack increases, you're now talking about 210 pounds. If we're talking about low rows, well, these don't swivel at all, so you're gonna have to get creative. If you wanna use a single cable attachment or want to use dual stacks, you're gonna have to do one of a few things. We went a custom route. I connected my buddy David Dennis at Gorilla Strength. He created an attachment for us to connect the two cables on the low row. He also created one for the pull down so that we have a nice, even, direct path, but that's an extra. You can also get a piece from Kyle at Kaizen DIY. You could get a Darko Shorty or Longy bar. You could get a gym pin D-handle bar, or come up with your own unique way on how to connect two carabiners together to pull as one. The leg developer is a little bit different. It uses these two pulleys here, and it already integrates both cable stacks into the leg developer. So you automatically have that full 160 pounds directly into the leg developer. Now, for most people, that's probably enough. That's the equivalent of almost 4 45-pound plates, and because a cable is typically constant tension, that's a pretty good number. Now for myself, it's not quite enough, which is where I reach for something like a gym pin. I'm able to put the gym pin in the stack, add some extra 45s to continue to progress. I have not maxed that out yet. I am still progressing, so I haven't yet ran out of room. I've used my gym pin for some back work as well as some really heavy tricep extensions, so it's definitely come in handy a number of times. You can load chains on it and get really creative and do all kinds of fun stuff. So I definitely think if you have a plate stack driven machine, it's something you should pick up. I'll leave a link in the description as well as a discount code if you decide to do so. Overall, for someone like my wife, the cable stacks are more than adequate on the FT2. She has never reached for the gym pin, no matter what she's doing. For myself, I run out of room on a couple of exercises and wish there was a little bit more. If I had the 50-pound upgrade on each stack, I would probably be good on everything but the leg developer, but I'd still have to reach for plates there, so it's not exactly a perfect solution. One of the downsides here, of course, is that one of the big draws of the FT2 is never having to load another plate. Well, it doesn't exactly pan out for me, which means it loses a little bit of its shine, but overall, if you're a much more normal human being, like my wife, or just simply not pushing leg extensions as hard as I am, you could grab that 50-pound stack and probably never have any issues. The overall look, feel, build, everything about the FT2 fits well in their garage gym. It's stable in use. The pulleys are nice. The cables have no wear and tear. After over a year and a half of regular, constant abuse, this thing looks brand new. I see no future where I'm going to have to replace anything outside of simply doing a little bit of maintenance of oiling some of the moving parts. Now, with the overall use of the FT2 itself, what we found is this. We use the adjustable cable columns a lot. Some of my absolute favorite exercises have become ones that I use both cables at the same time, whether we're talking about rear delts, triceps work, or the typical chest cable crossovers. Plus, the two different adjustable cable columns gives us a lot of opportunities to superset or to work together with another family member at the same time on the same exercise. Different heights, different weight stacks, etc. Because of the dual adjustable columns, we also open up awesome exercise opportunities like the assisted pull-ups. The dual high pulleys are great. One, because it gives you another option for things like face pulls or tricep extensions where you're trying to get a really long full range of motion, as well as the ability to do isolateral pull down options with something like the prime rotate handles. We do end up using the conversion piece that we have for a single handle a lot for our mag grip pull downs, but I really do enjoy having not only the two pulley options, but having a much more dedicated pull down option than simply using something like a regular functional trainer for pull downs. For the dual low row options, we pretty much never use them individually. The only exception is when I'm doing seated leg curls. Otherwise, we are always combining them for seated rows and other movements like that. So for our gym, for me, my wife, my daughter, the things that we use on a regular basis, from a cable stance specifically, we would want to continue to have the dual adjustable cable columns. We'd want some type of dedicated pull down. The dual pull down is nice. And we would want a low row. If it's a dual low row like this, I'm not gonna complain, but I'm not gonna search it out. So overall, big thumbs up to Inspire for pretty much nailing the cable system setup in the FT2 and giving a lot of great options for a lot of different exercises for all kinds of different athletes. I mentioned at the beginning, the Smith machine. One of the coolest parts is that the Smith hooks directly into the cable stacks. The bar itself weighs 25 pounds. Add in your dual stacks at 160 total, because we're still talking about a 2-to-1 ratio, and we've got about 185 pounds of working weight on the Smith machine. Now, for smaller athletes, it's probably plenty, but for some bigger athletes like myself, that wouldn't even be a warm-up weight on things like RDLs or maybe even bench for higher reps. The good news is that Inspire actually did think this one through. You have the ability to change the way that you hook up the hooks on the Smith portion to get a 1-to-1 ratio. So you can effectively double the weight. So we're now at 320 out of the cables plus the 25 pounds. So we're looking at just shy of 350 pounds without that 50-pound add-on on each side, which should be more than enough weight for almost everybody from an accessory movement stance on a Smith machine. Now, before you think that the Smith is all good, there are quite a few hiccups with this piece. One is the starting position. So this is exactly the same struggle that I had with the PowerTech Lever Gym, where you have to start in the bottom. So bench, squats, and multiple exercises typically start at the top, right? We're used to unracking, lowering, and lifting. With the Smith here, because it sits on the safeties, which is the adjustable cable column piece, you have to start in the bottom. There is kind of a hack workaround here. You can engage the safety mechanism and lower the bar to the spot that you want, let it click into place, and then begin your working sets. Unfortunately, it's just not a smooth setup to do that. For one, if you take something like bench, you have to drop it all the way down, and when you get to the point where you would start pressing, if you were to lock the safeties in place there, the bar doesn't actually engage with the weight until another about inch or two above that. You now lost all stretch in your chest by doing that. Now again, you could work around that. You could lower it with a close grip and then move out to a wider grip. But we're getting into multiple hacks to be able to make one simple movement work correctly within the system that we have. It's just not ideal. The knurling on the Smith machine is not great. The bar is very clearly a painted bar. So whatever knurling they did have, they coated over the top. And that coating has essentially dulled any grip possible. It feels kind of like the knurling that you would find on like a kid's playground equipment. It's textured, not necessarily knurled. Now, what I would say to that is that yes, I would like better knurling, but it's a Smith machine. If you're doing squats, the bar should never roll off of your back on a Smith machine. If you're doing bench, the bar should never roll out of your hand doing presses. The only two options where the knurling might help is if you did RDLs or rows of some kind. And in that case, just wear straps. So as you can see, there are a whole host of hiccups when we're talking about the Smith machine and how it works within the FT2. I will say that within the last year and a half, I've probably used the Smith machine a handful of times. I will choose almost anything else before I choose that as an option. which sucks because I actually do like Smith machine work. I think when implemented correctly, they can be a great hypertrophy option, especially in a home gym where we don't have a lot of machines and that kind of locked in stable pattern. This has the opportunity to be great and just falls flat. The SCS adjustable bench is an adjustable bench. It's not gonna win any awards. It's not gonna put up a fight against a rep back wing or anything special like that. It will get to the job done though. I think the bench is way too expensive for what it is, but if you're buying the FT2, I think you'd be pretty crazy not to buy the bench because of the leg developer piece and the fact that it is specifically designed to integrate correctly into the system as a whole. This is probably the best leg extension, leg curl experience I've ever had in a home gym setting. The cable-driven aspect is fantastic, but there are, again, a couple of hiccups. The main piece is that you need a lot of room to be able to fit this bench out into the front and leverage the leg developer correctly. The way I have it set up here, I'm not actually able to set up the bench with the correct extension of the cables that it calls for. So I'm losing the bottom starting position of leg extensions and the last bit of range of motion on leg curls. So while this is still a very effective and good exercise, it could be even better if I had a little bit more space, which is kind of the motto of the home gym. Hey, I just need a little bit more space. The good news with the leg developer is they also added the weight peg. So not only can you do cable driven work, you can do plate loaded, or you can combine the two to play around with different options. I do wish that the adjustments to find the right sweet spot for the leg extension and leg curl were a little bit more straightforward. The post has way too many hole options, which just don't make any sense in about 99% of settings. I don't know why it has that many, but here we are. And unfortunately, sometimes you end up playing this Goldilocks situation of one is too high and one is too low, and you're never quite right. My wife, for instance, can't quite do leg curls without it bothering her knee. I fit perfectly well, so your mileage may vary there. As someone who trains leg extensions and leg curls on a regular basis, as my wife trains leg extensions every week as well, I think this is one of the best additions to our gym. Simply this one piece is a huge win for our space. And if I was to get rid of the FT2, I would probably struggle to find a quality replacement for the leg developer aspect, specifically because of the cable-driven aspect. Some of the extra stuff with the FT2 is that it comes with some cable attachments, some built-in storage for said cable attachments, a pull-up bar, as well as these nylon shrouds to cover the cable stacks, pulleys, all that stuff. The built-in storage I pretty much immediately ripped out and went with a different solution. I put up multiple wall control boards over here, as well as replaced the built-in storage with my own creation. So I went to work by putting in this board over the top, which now holds the keyboard and mouse. I mounted this computer monitor onto the front side of the FT2, so then that way it all runs and connects to the computer and the receiver on the back wall here into the speakers. Now, I want to clarify, this is not a knock on Inspire for their storage options. I actually love it when companies think about storage and built-in storage and vertical storage, whatever it might be, with their gym equipment. Essentially, where is all of this stuff going to go? Since space is such a crucial aspect in a home gym, it just wasn't exactly built for purpose for myself. It stored all the stuff that came with the FT2, but wasn't really ready for everything else I had. I think where Inspire could improve here is to take a note from Fringe Sport with the Dane, where they have the built-in metal pegboard that you can use something similar to a wall control and simply put that on there, so then that way you could store whatever you want, including their included cable attachments. The cable attachments as a whole are not that great. If you're like me and you have a whole wall of cable attachments already, you're probably not gonna get much use out of the Inspire included cable attachments. The only two we really use are the nightstick type one, which we use for power presses, and then the strap that connects the two adjustable cable columns together so you can do assisted pull-ups. The last one is really cool, something that I haven't seen elsewhere and I think is a really creative solution. Other companies should most certainly offer that type of attachment. It's probably the best assisted pull-up in a home gym that I have seen anywhere else. The pull-up bar is a basic angled multi-grip kind of pull-up bar. It's a nice option. It probably won't be your first option in a home gym, as you probably have multiple pull-up options in your gym, but if you want to use the assisted pull-up feature, it is a great addition to have in place here. My wife uses it on a regular basis. The knurling on it is a little less than ideal. In my opinion, it is the kind of cheap aggressive knurling. The aggressive that is there and very pronounced, but doesn't do what you want it to do. It just ends up chewing up and hurting your hands more so than actually providing a solid grip. The nylon shrouds here do exactly what they're meant to do. They protect anybody from sticking their fingers in and getting caught in the various cables, weight plates, those kinds of things, as well as hide a lot of the inner behind the scenes workings of what's going on there. It makes the overall unit a lot less busy and more aesthetically pleasing. Are they the highest functioning pieces possible? No. Prime Fitness with their metal shrouds is definitely a step up, especially in the custom color options and things like that. But these get the job done and they don't seem to be showing any wear or tear. I would assume that as long as you're not storing them outside, they should last plenty long. In general, I give the FT2 some bonus points for thinking about storage, even if it isn't the best one. Having the shrouds, because a lot of cheaper options don't have those, even if they're not the best shrouds possible. Having the integrated pull-up bar for the assisted pull-ups, even if the knurling could be better. And in general, just adding some extra pieces to the puzzle to get some extra use, functionality, and aesthetic bonus points there. Good job, Inspire. Okay, so overall, the Inspire FT2 kicks butt in a few areas and could use some updating and improvements in a few others. How I'm gonna wrap up this review portion of this video is to simply say, I regularly find ways to make excuses to use the FT2 over just about everything else in my gym for accessory purposes. I do all of my heavy strength work in the mornings and then typically do my accessory hypertrophy, higher rep stuff in the afternoons. And on a regular basis, I'm doing almost, if not the entire workout in the afternoon on the FT2. My wife has done entire workouts in it for a number of days out of the weeks and is in here for countless exercises every single workout. My daughter uses it. We've had friends over who have used it, people who know what they're doing and don't. The stacks and everything is so intuitive and easy to use. It's all right there, right in front of you. It's easy to adjust, set up, grab what you need. With the plethora of cable attachments I have and the dumbbells right in front of me with the adjustable bench right here, I have so many options for back, chest, shoulders, arms, legs, you name it, that I just regularly come back here to do my workouts. It's easy, it's quick, it's effective. It's exactly what I want in getting the job done. This thing is stable and suitable for athletes of my size, 6 foot, 250 plus, my wife at 5'6" and 150, as well as my daughter at 7 years old. It doesn't really matter what size athlete you are, this thing is scalable to everybody. If you wanted to run a fairly slim home gym, you could have a rack, a bar, some plates, and an FT2 with a bench and some cable attachments, and you would get a lot done in a small, dedicated space. Because of how effective this is, because of how adjustable it is to all the different athletes in my life, I don't see a world where we don't have a cable system much like the FT2 with the stack adjustments, with the adjustable cable columns, with the pull downs, you name it. Now the question that we asked at the beginning that we're going to answer right now is the FT2 still relevant today for home gym owners? And I think with all the positives I have to say about this, if I did not own one and was looking to add something like this to my gym, it would honestly be hard to recommend the Inspire FT2. As I mentioned in the beginning, when this first came out, it was really a lone wolf. It was an awesome piece that nobody else was doing. Since then, you have companies like Force USA who have come out with very similar items that have continued to upgrade and change and improve said offerings, while the Inspire FT2 has basically remained the same. You have companies like Prime who have come out with their HLP Prodigy racks that have built-in stacks, adjustable cable columns, dedicated pull downs, and is a full 3x3 1-inch hardware rack. You have the Dane from Fringe Sport, which is a similar concept, and you even have a plethora of budget options available on Amazon that have built-in Smith machines and all kinds of different stuff. Do you want to Frankenstein an FT2 into a power rack? Cool. You can grab something like a dialed motion setup, or maybe a couple of Beyond Power Ultra 1s, or use a Rep Aries or other built-in kind of already off-the-shelf solution. Combine that with something like a bulletproof VTS, or maybe a set of jammer arms from Crandall Fitness, or even wait for the new Bells of Steel Smith machine attachment. You can make this FT2 out of a standard power rack and still get the functionality of a power rack. This will allow you to squat and bench out of it, as well as attach things like maybe a Mutant Metals UDA or other options to be able to leverage the cables with those various pieces and get really creative in the way you use said rack and piece. Inspire released the FT2 and kind of changed the game, and then they left it there for everyone else to run wild with. So today, if you're looking at an Inspire FT2, which costs $5,000, not including the bench, the leg developer, or the weight stack increases, plus tax, shipping, you name it, you could turn around and buy something like the Dane at about half that price. You could buy a full Prime Prodigy rack for just a little bit more than that. Overall, I think the Inspire FT2 has been outpaced in terms of development, creativity, and options, as well as the pricing of said options. I think it made sense when it was first released and maybe for multiple years thereafter, but now with the amount of opportunities and options from different companies we have, it's very difficult for me to say, hey, go grab an FT2. Now, if you already have one or you managed to find one used, like I did, that changes the equation a bit. And we still don't have anything that integrates a bench into a leg developer piece from anyone else, so you're getting some things in the FT2 that you're not going to get elsewhere. That alone is reason for me to currently keep the FT2, but to keep my eyes open for what else might be coming down the road from other manufacturers. So what about you? Let me know in the comments below. Are you checking out the FT2 or are you looking somewhere else? What is it that you're looking for? What price range? Those kinds of things. What kind of pieces are important to you in a cable system for your home gym? In the description below, I've got links to a bunch of different stuff like my wall control write-up, cable attachments, all kinds of good things. Make sure to check those out, as well as discount codes for Gym Pin and a bunch of the stuff that I talked about as I rambled through all of the name drops during this video, because there's so much cool stuff that goes into owning a cable system. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me and all the cool stuff I'm doing, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you want to vote on what I do next, make sure to hit the link for my review pipeline where you can see all the stuff I'm currently working on, as well as vote on what I should work on next. That's it for me today. I'll be back with more home gym awesomeness for all of you very soon. Peace.